So you'll be the one starting the... Hang on a minute. G, you'll be the one still starting the race, though, won't you? Yeah, I've just got control on what we see, yeah? Cool. Radio. I apologise now, Matt.
No worries, mate. Take your time, get used to it, bud.
Good. No, I'm just apologising.
All right, okay.
Just generally.
All right, yeah, no, it's fine, mate. It's all cool.
It's all cool, good. Yeah, we should have some fun with this. Yeah, now that's a little bit...
really? 25? How? There's nothing going on.
That's a little bit deceiving.
Now. There's 17 people watching now. It's dropped to 16.
Yeah,
no, there's nothing.
Mine says 18.
Refresh the screen.
Yeah, this
when we stopped.
It's a little bit deceiving, guys. Because I was watching on 3 devices.
Oh, for God's sake!
No, it's cheating. You can't count
what?
that.
That's cheating. What, overwatching?
No, I think it's the same IP address. It doesn't count. It should be from each IP address. Counts as one view, I believe. That's how it works.
Oh, well, in that case, then it's fine. But for some reason, I can't make comments on my phone. Sorry, on my laptop. It won't let me comment. I can on my phone, so I'm on that one, and I'm watching it. I was watching the first, the tier 2. I was watching on my PlayStation because it's the biggest screen, obviously. So. But, interestingly enough.
The stream.
We all here, I think, aren't we? Is it?
Gonna mute that.
Alright, here we go. We're ready. Bang on 8 o'clock as well. Happy days.
We're just
good.
too
We
good.
like good timekeeping.
Yeah.
Alright.
Coming now, mate.
Right, we'll go in the game chat.
Right, good luck.
Behave,
Have a good
Matt.
time.
Behave, Matt and Dan. Have fun.
I will. Make sure you don't roll it, Dan.
Fuck you.
Because I'll be all over it.
I know you fucking will. Probably Dad will as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, I've got a nice fun fact for the viewers about you being a champion.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Right, bye.
Shoulders will be like, whoa, this race is still going, guys. Alright, in a bit.
So, what we left with? Just you and me, Matt?
Looks that way, bud.
Excellent. Okay. Righty. So, your position, Matt, is you're not in the race, are you? Watching? You're watching what I'm watching.
I'm watching
yeah?
what you're watching, bud. Yeah.
Right, you are. Okay, let's have someone who's on track. But we haven't gone live on the stream yet, no?
No, not that I can see.
Right. Cool. Okay. Here we go, by the looks of it.
Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to Motive Racing for the Tier 1 category of the Clio Cup. Fantastic Tier 2 competition just a moment ago. I'm Matthew Duffin, joined in the commentary box by Kelly Davis. Evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Matt, and thank you for that lovely welcome. Yeah, looking forward to tonight.
Should be a cracking race. 16 drivers we should have on this Tier 1 grid, and as we saw from last week, the racing was as close as ever, and I'm hoping for many more tonight. Much more close racing as well. Andy, you see on the screen, making his first outing this season, wasn't able to take part last week, as is Fury and Emo Guy, I do believe, as well, all looking to score some valuable points to not get relegated or be kept in that relegation battle going into next season. Andy, who's the pick of the bunch for you in this one at the moment?
It's Kelly and not Andy, but don't worry
Kelly,
about it.
sorry,
Matt. We'll
yeah,
get
no,
used
you're
to
right.
it.
Yep.
We'll get used to it,
Apologies.
don't worry. I might have a little sneaky, if I was going to have a bet, I'd have a little sneaky bet on orthodubs for some particular reason. Yeah, backing Team Davis. Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I've been racing with a few of these guys. I did the touring car race on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, came to an abrupt end because of I don't know how to use a pit limiter. But I mean, you know, Gary's quick. Emo guys had Ian has had some cracking races. Cracking race yesterday on the what we played GTE yesterday. Yeah. And I mean, Andy's quick. Yeah, there's a lot of quick guys here. It's going to be an interesting Tier 1, I feel.
It is going to be an interesting Tier 1. And Gary 131, you can see on your screen at the moment, was a front runner last season, took a couple of wins and podiums. This year, he hasn't seemed to be in the groove at the moment. This is how tight the Tier 1 grid is this year, in the fact that he starts mid-table. This is just a 10-minute practice session, and then it will be a reverse grid in Championship, reverse order for race 1, in which I'll go through the grid shortly. You'll also get a nice graphic on the screen to tell you the grid as well. So the driver's just getting a good feel for the track here.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to run through the format for all the people at home. Of course, I knew it. I didn't need to you to remind me, of course.
Yeah.
But for the people watching, yeah. So we got a good evening's racing indeed. I've had a go on these Clio Cups with a few of these guys. They are not the easiest car in the world to drive, are they?
No, very difficult car. And for those who can drive them, I take my hats off to them because they are. Yeah. They can be a handful, especially in the winter conditions. Not too bad in the summer conditions, but the winter conditions make them even slippier. Real handful. But these guys are the best of the best here at Motive Racing, so these guys will know what they're doing in terms of driving them. Maybe not on orthodox. He seems to spend more time on his roof than he does on all four wheels. But that's the only dig I'll have at the Tier 2 runner-up for tonight. That's the only dig I'll have at him in this one.
I know you guys have been winding him up. I'm going to be I'm going to be on his side tonight. I'm going to be on his side, and as I said, I've got a fun fact for people watching later about Daniel being a champion, and I'll tell you all about. There you go. We get a flash of lights from Daniel there as he comes across the line. He knows he's going to that I'm going to give him a hard time, but it's in my contract as his father. Yeah. You know, so I'm allowed to do that. So, but yeah, I know you boys give him a hard time as well.
Just trying to motivate him to be
to be a better racer.
Dan, though, to be fair, he's a cracking driver, cracking bloke. LMP2 champion, let's not forget that one as well.
He certainly is.
And he won that one brilliantly.
I mean, he's now, I suppose he's been slightly quicker than me now for about the last 15 years. You know, as soon as Daniel got into Crash Team Racing, there was just no stopping him, really. Do you know what I mean? And we went through a whole phase of Team Gotham, Gotham Racing and whatever. And he's he's a quick lad. So hopefully he'll do well tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. John Boy here. Didn't have the best of outings in the touring cars on Sunday night. Obviously defending champion over the touring cars. He's a man that you've got to watch out for in these Clios as well.
Can we not talk too much about touring car?
I apologise.
On Sunday, please.
I did hear about the old pit limiter, and heard it was a problem.
Well, the problem was that I was doing really quite well.
Yeah, you know, P5.
Yeah, I was best of the rest at that point, and in front of some big names. You know, so I was going quite well, quite happy, and then disaster struck, or the button didn't happen. So yeah. But the less we can talk about that, the better, I think.
That's fine. Fury on track. You see here, just getting a bit of a wiggle on there, bit of a slide onto the grass. He's making his first outing in this season. Obviously a regular at Motive Racing, but making his first outing this season. Wasn't able to, take part last week. So he's looking for points on the board at the moment. While we've got 3 minutes left, let me just run you through the current championship standings. It is... Where are they? It is Motoring Morgan who leads the way. No, that's last season's. Motoring Morgan won last season, obviously the defending champion. Here we go. It's the only G who leads the way from Luty McShooty, who had a first and a third last week. Really good outing for Luty McShooty. Morgan then in P3 at the moment, with John Boy down in 4th. Disco Racing Stu from the Tier 2 category up in P5 at the moment. Him and Unorthodox had a cracking drive. In fact, all the guys who got promoted from Tier 2 to Tier 1 had a great drive. Unorthodox then in 6th with Motor Daz as 7th. HRT Zeus in P8, Gary down in 9th with Yahuis Rocker P10, Little Leech in 11th, Shoulders 12th, Bod 13th, Emo Guy 14th, Andy and Fury 15th and 16th, but haven't yet scored at the moment. Very tight at the moment in the top, 9 points separate the top 4. Obviously early days though yet, so they haven't really got to worry about it. Plenty of time still to go. Still another 5 tracks left to do, 10 races in total left in the Tier 1 category, so plenty of time yet for drivers to make a charge or not. We see G currently the quickest of the runners on track, 2/10 quicker than Lewis Rocker and Andy. The top 10 separated by just over a second, with Gary being in 10th place. Obviously.
Yeah, it's a short lap though, isn't it? A very short lap round the Red Bull Ring National. Is this the National?
Yeah, National.
Yeah. So it is a very short lap, so it's going to be very tight. And tenths are going to make absolutely all the difference. You know, as you said, what are we, top 10? Yeah, very, very little, less than a second in the whole top 10.
The slipstream here will be key as well, Kelly. The slipstream is going to be a massive thing, especially in qualifying, just to maybe gain an extra 10th or 2 here or there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that Renault Clio needs slipstream, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mostly they just need taken to the scrapyard, but you know, some of the ones out of Tier 2's first race, they certainly need to go into the scrapyard.
Oh, they did indeed. There was a few shunts here and there, and a race that kind of panned out. You see Luty McShooty and John Boy in the same liveries here. Obviously, the 145 and I do believe 146 car running slipstream each other. Is this a tactic going into the race or into the qualifying session of race 2? Obviously, the first race will be done under reverse championship order. Luty McShooty down in P9 and John Boy currently 4th at the moment. But you look at the top 15 separated by 1.7. You say the top 10's a second. It's only 7/10 back then to the other 5 cars. Incredible times from the top 15 here. Disco Stu's not, I probably wouldn't say he's put a respectable lap in at the moment, 15 seconds off the pace, but the guys here in Tier 1, this is going to be a heck of a race if these guys are this close.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be all action with a bit of luck, and that's exactly what we're looking for. As I said, the cars, watching the Tier 2s just earlier, I mean, I thought it was some sort of drift competition, the way the back ends were stepping out, especially into that last combination of corners as you come downhill, the right and then the right. And I heard you guys chatting about track limits as well and running onto the AstroTurf. Is that just on that last corner, is that? Or is
From
that first
what I
corner
believe, that's all corners. The AstroTurf on the exit to the corner, I do believe. A friend of mine were testing on another league, and he said that you can run in onto the AstroTurf on the exit to the corners, as long as you're off the AstroTurf before the AstroTurf finishes, it won't give you a slowdown. So as far as I'm led to believe, that's the case. You can get onto the AstroTurf and come off of it before the AstroTurf ends, and you will not get a slowdown penalty, so I'm led to believe. We'll see if that's the case. But I mean, there you go. Disco Stu's just done a time. He's gone into P12, so the top 16 are covered by 1.7 seconds as free practice is complete. What an absolute good job by all these drivers. Really, really top stuff from everybody here. And it's Little League,
absolutely
Tier 2 champion of 2 seasons ago, who last year was on the podium fighting at the sharp end of the grid, finds himself 16th fastest overall at the moment. Really struggling for time, but I mean, not a lot of time to gain. 1.7, it's not a big chunk when you consider it. You can lose all that in one little mistake. So absolutely. And the way the back ends are slipping around on these, it would be interesting to know what the ultimate lap would be in these cars in this condition, you know, because keeping it all neat and tidy is extremely difficult by the looks of things. Well, I was testing earlier on the practice session with a few of these guys. Oh, we've lost Fury. Oh no, he's joined back. That's an old message. So G takes the quickest time in FP1 with Huey Strocker second and Andy third. I was testing with a few of these guys just before Tier 2 started, And
Yep.
even I was struggling. The rear all over the place, like you said, especially the two final right-handers, was just really awful to drive. To see G go around it and keep it very planted and very under control was absolutely fantastic, and there's no wonder he was the quickest in FP1. As you see the drivers lining up, they're just going to sort final setups, fuel loads out, ready ahead of the start. It will be a formation lap and then a rolling start, and I will go through the grid order for you when that is happening.
Okay, well that's good. I haven't had a look at the comments on the feed yet, so I will whiz through them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a few now.
Yeah.
Beards Alive says hard choice of drivers tonight. JR Sim Racing. Andy G second. Andy for the dub. G second. Andy then commenting saying thanks. Just looking at the others. Just that's about it pretty much from all of them. Fury's granddad's in, so evening to Fury's granddad, a regular here, who
Very
watches.
much so.
As you see the starting grid graphic appearing now, Fury on pole with Andy in second place, and then it goes to Emo Guy in third with Ryan Bod in fourth. Shoulders is P5 with with Little Each P6. Dehuis Rocker will start in seventh place. Gary 8th. HRT Zeus will be 9th. Melted Dazza P10. On Orthodubs in P11 with Disco Racing Stu 12. John Boy 13th. Morgan, the defending champion, at P14. And the back row of the grid will be Looty McShooty and the only G. So that will be the order once the drivers have all readied up. They will do a mandatory formation lap to get into that order, and then the leader will take us across the line, and when he decides to go, it'll be across the line, it'll be green, because it looks like the drivers are ready now.
Yes, so we have to get into formation order, don't we? Into the grid order. Are we rolling start, standing start?
Rolling start. Rolling start out the
start.
final corner. Obviously, the lead. You have to wait till the leader has crossed the line.
Yeah.
So as you see here, you'll just see a bit of shuffling around and jostling as we get into the lead. Fury is already up there, so is Andy now. Emo Guy then coming into P3. I've just got my phone loaded so I can make sure everybody's there. Bod's 4th, Shoulders 5th. Little Each just needs to get one more place into P6. Phil Atherton, aka DJ Phil. Andy for the win, he says. JR Sim Racing, what's happening? I'm lost. We're just getting the guys are doing a mandatory formation lap, JR, and then there will be away rolling start to get into reverse grid order here. So we've got Fury, Andy, Emo Guy, Bod, Shoulders, Little Each, Dehuis, Rocker, Gary, HRT, Zeus, Melted Dazza, Unorthodox, Disco, Stu, John Boy, Motoring, Morgan, Looty McShooty and GC. They're already lined up as they come down towards the back straight. Yeah, great, nice and early. I know when this first started last season, there was a bit of confusing times for some drivers, people being in places they wasn't meant to be, and then like the top 6 would be well out in front, and the middle part of the guys will be sort of still jostling, can't remember who's meant to be where. The back part will be doing the same, but a bit further back. So Fury leads the pack away then into the penultimate corner. He comes now. He's about to round the final corner. When does he choose to go here? He's not really bunched the pack up. He's got a bit of a gap to Andy.
He certainly has.
And he's gone now. So when Fury crosses the line, we'll be green, green, green in this race. Somebody's already kept out. That's Dehuis Rocker, who's already pulled out, ready to make sure he's not going into somebody. So we're green here at Red Bull Ring National. For the start of this one, you see a picture out in the pits. That's John Boy, who's already coming into the pit. So what has happened to John Boy here? Not the start to this race he'd have wanted at all. He's already into the pit lane then, and that is not what he'd have wanted early doors here. P4 in the championship so far, and in the pits, Andy from P2 on the grid. What can he do? He's got Fury just up in front with Emo Guy just behind him. John Boy, though, not the start he'd have wanted. Little Each, so 6th place still at the moment, and on the back of Shoulders. You see him there in the yellow liveried car behind the white striped car. There is Fury out front, though, 4/10 in the lead from Andy. Emo Guy P3. Everybody kept it nice and clean on the first lap, Kelly, at the moment, and they've all got through unharmed.
Yeah, certainly a lot of quality driving in the first lap. No dramas, no crashes. Long way to go, but if you think something was going to happen, you would have thought it would have happened in the first lap, but they're all still really close, so anything could happen.
Here goes Andy then. He's just pulling out on Fury, and he's looking down up to the inside into turn 1. The big thing that did happen is there's John Boy just leaving the pits, so he's already a lap down, and Andy up the inside of Fury for P1 into the lead of the race. He goes. That's Gary, who's very wide in the background, and there's an incident between Melted Dazza and what looks to be Zeus in the background, off and around, and then to John Boy, though, a lap down. What happened to him at the start of this race? We'll have to find out at the end. But Andy takes the lead.
Didn't get himself a drive-through, did he?
No, I can't imagine so. To be a lap down, that seems a bit harsh, that does. But we saw in Tier 2, Nick de Villa had a drive-through and only lost 3 places. Didn't go a lap down, whereas he has. Here's Fury, though. He's actually lost out to Bod and Emo Guy at the moment as well. And that Shoulder's having a bit of a look up the inside of Fury into the penultimate corner. So Emo Guy up into second. Bod is currently third. Shoulders on the back, though, of Fury at the moment in time. Little Each 6th. Gary's up into 7th place. Where's G from the back? He's P11 at the moment. And Melter Dazzler and HRT Zeus down 13th and 14th off the back of this pack. There in the background you see G and Morgan side by side into turn 1. And how many times do we see these two battling all over the circuit? And someone had a bit of a wiggle there, and is that the Leach brothers again have touched each other, and Little Leach is off there with, who's he taking with him there? I'm not quite sure. I think it's Disco Stu, but again we saw Gary out of shape at turn 1, and him and his brother Little Leach come together once again. Gary's kept it going 6th, Morgan is P5, but Fury, Bod and Emo Guy and Andy have all kept out of trouble here and are already 3 seconds up the road. Andy's 4 seconds up the road from Morgan, and somehow Gary has managed to keep that going, even though him and his brother Little Each made contact.
The top 4's broken away a little bit now, haven't they, from the rest of the pack, with all that that's going on, as you can see, as they come down to the start-finish straight once again. The racing seems to be tight from Gary back. These guys all in very close formation as they come up into this tricky turn 1 uphill braking zone.
Gary's been tapped by Morgan as Dewey's Rocker was up the inside as well. Not the way that would have wanted to end it for Gary. Jane and Orthodox have managed to get past them too without any harm. Looty McShooty and John Boy on the back. Obviously John Boy a lap down, but it looked like Morgan just turned in a bit on Gary there, as Gary had to stay a bit wider for Dewey's Rocker, who was up the inside. So maybe that one will be investigated after the race, but that looked a bit naughty to me.
Yes, indeed. There was plenty of action going on there, and hard to keep up with what was happening. There's cars and Clios all over the place, isn't it? You know.
Absolutely cracking stuff from the Tier 1 drivers here then, as we head down onto the 5th lap of the race, about to start lap 6. And at the moment you see the two, Looty McShooty and John Boy in the background, sort of squabbling, even though John Boy's a lap down. He's not really making it easy for what looks to be his teammate in this race in the same liveried car. That is an Orthodox pulling to the side. Why is he pulled to the side? Maybe a slowdown penalty as he pushed the track limits a bit too far coming out of the final corner, as he tucks in just in front of Dehuis Rocker, then loses out to Gary 131 in that one then.
So just focusing on the only G just at the moment. He's making huge progress. He is the championship leader, starting from the back. So he's now up to 6th within 6 laps. There's a lot of drivers who'd be very happy with that, professional drivers. So he's pushing on, but he's got 5 seconds to the front, so he's got to do a little bit yet. Back at the front, these top 3 in close formation still. So it's still anybody's race at this point, don't you think, Matt?
Anybody's race at the moment. Bod, Fury has dropped off the back of this trio there. I think Gary's just got to slow down in the background. Looks like he's pulled to the side. The trio at the front have absolutely gone. Fury can't keep with them. He's actually falling into the clutches of Morgan and G, who are currently P5 and 6th. Unorthodox has got back in front of Gary. And John Boy's actually in front of Gary as well, even though he's a lap down. He's still racing hard here. Fury's mum in the chat. Evening to you, Fury's mum. Mandatory pit stop for race 2, JR, not for race 1, unfortunately, so that is not going to help John Boy in this race at all. But here we see Morgan and G, big talking point last week when these two came together and Looty McShooty won the race. What's going to happen here then? That is Fury just in front, these two battling on track, the defending champion Morgan against last year's runner-up G. Anything can happen between these two very quick competitive guys, and G's going to lock up the inside of Morgan, and a great move there from G just a bit later on the brakes, runs a bit wide on exit, and Morgan's going to get him back into the final corner here. Fury not really helping these two guys out as they can't pull away from each other because he's kind of a little roadblock at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. He's that mobile chicane that everyone used to call Jarno Trulli when he was in Formula 1. They've all bunched up behind Fury, but he's in 4th place. It's his choice. Looks like G's going to put a move on him though.
Yeah, he got the run. Fury went onto two wheels coming out the first corner, clipped the sausage curb. This should allow Morgan to follow through, you'd imagine. Fury, though, will try and hold his line and defend his position. He has done beautifully there.
Yes.
Although Morgan just trying to bump Fury on the back there and just giving him a bit of a tap there. Hey, mate, I'm up your inside. Let me through.
Yeah.
That's not the case, so if you're Fury. John Boy still heavily defended from an Orthodubs in the background. And Orthodubs, I'm sure, would love to be on the battle of this pack just in front. John Boy, obviously, flashing the lights now, slowing down and yielding that place to an Orthodubs then at the moment.
Yes, indeed. If I know Dan, he's probably screaming and shouting right at the moment. Screaming and shouting, trying to get back on the back of this pack and get some moves done. But he's got a bit of work to do because they've gapped him slightly, so he's got to get his head down. Come on, Dan, be cool.
He has indeed. You see just behind John Boy, Luton McShooty and Gary battling it out, and in the background there, Disco Stu and Melted Dazza together as well, with Little Each trying to gain on them two as well. Here we see that Disco Stu at the moment, not his race, we're seeing him off at turn 1 a few laps ago, and Melted Dazza was off at turn 1 a few laps ago, as was Zeus and Little Each. Shoulders, not sure what happened to Shoulders. He's down at the back of the pack. Here is Dan, though, having a look around the outside of Motoring Morgan. Can't keep it there, so Morgan will be able to defend his line into the left-hander. But Dan at the moment looking like he's doing a job, and Fury in a similar livery to Dan. Maybe just a few team tactics. Obviously no teams in this one, but maybe the tactics just coming into play here, as Dan actually looked like he was looking to make a move on Morgan. Morgan's going to go up the inside of Fury at the penultimate corner, and that job still isn't done yet. Dan looks like he'll try and follow Morgan through. In fact, no, he's going to attack Morgan as well. They all just lean on each other a little bit, and Morgan just sends Fury a little wide, which is natural with the way the track goes. Fury now tries to pull back out. That's John Boy, sorry, pulling out. Fury tucks in behind an Orthodubs, and an Orthodubs heads down and charges after Morgan.
I was just about to say there's going to be tears in this one, and there nearly was in that last corner. They were nearly three abreast as they went through there. Good clean racing from these three. They're keeping it together, keeping it cool, driving like professionals.
They really
Let's
are.
hope they continue to do that.
They really are. They're really pushing each other to the limit here and really providing some great racing for us to commentate on. Brilliant stuff. Dan, though, up to P6 now.
Yes, doing well. As I say, Fury just now tucked in behind these two. He's going to have Gary in close company with him very, very shortly. Where are we? Here we go. There we go. I was going to pick. G was close into the back of the third place man, who is third place man. Bod, yeah, it's him.
Indeed he was. I just noticed there when you change camera to G as well that Andy seemed very wide and came from the grass onto the start-finish line there. So it looked like he'd gone very wide out the last corner. Emo Guy's picked himself up a time penalty. You see that there with his number in red. Andy's now got a time penalty as well. That may be from the final corner incident. That means they'll have a time penalty which will be added to their final race time at the end of this race. 9.5 minutes left to go. G on the back of this pack for third at the moment. And these front three was away at one stage. Andy's now 2 seconds up the road from second to third, and G's attacking Bod already out of the complex down towards the penultimate corner. Here comes G side by side with Bod. Bit later on the brakes. Job done. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots. That one easy as you like.
Yeah, thanks for all the fish. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, Matt. That was exactly what happened. Yes, so still lots of action going on. Andy, as you said, got a couple of seconds up front. He's got 8.5 minutes, nearly 9 minutes to just to keep it all together and be cool and not to mess things up. But G's still on a charge, as we knew he would be.
Yeah. A lot quicker than the other guys last lap as well, looking at the times. And G up the inside of Emo Guy, as calmly as you like, he pulled out to the back of Emo Guy there. He did. And I know Emo Guy's not going to give this one to him easy. The Flying Scotsman trying to keep him there. Great racing side by side through the whole of that section. And G on his merry way hunting down his old rival Andy here.
Absolutely, and as I said earlier, it's all very professional racing. If you guys watching ever want to get involved in this, I myself have got involved in this just recently, this year really, and it is great fun. It's more refined, Matt. It's like driving with people who care instead of the normal muppets you get in a lobby.
No, it is. It really is.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating. Anybody who's played this game for any period of time. And,
look at that. Sorry, Unorthodox and Morgan leaning on each other down the start straight. I saw in the background there. And Unorthodox up the inside of Motoring Morgan into P5 for him then. So he's not gave up on his quest to get P5 and ahead of Morgan. John Boy's now going to attack these two as well. Although shouldn't really. He's a lap down. He should let Fury through. But he's going to try his best to keep with them and see if his pace is good for race 2. Unorthodox though, Kelly, as you were saying, that goes up into P5.
He does, doing quite all right for the Tier 2 runner-up, isn't he?
Yeah, it's not doing too bad, to be fair. Morgan having a look back at him, though, into the penultimate corner. Dan can't come across to defend his line. He'll try his best, but Morgan's already there. Will he look to get the switch back after on the exit? No, he can't, because he's still alongside him. Dan holding great speed around the outside. And look at this. Is he going to hold great speed up around the outside again? Yes, he does, as he tucks back in front of Morgan. And Morgan having to sort of defend a little bit from John Boy, the back marker, who's pulled out. These are 3 wide near enough down the start-finish straight. Fury in the background watching this unwind, and Morgan trying to come across on Unorthodox into turn 1. Can he get it done? No, he can't.
Yeah, good racing still. Good race. This ain't over by a long shot, I'm telling you. This is going to run and run and run, I feel. All still in very close contact as they come round the top end of the circuit.
Really good
Still
stuff.
very close. It's hard to know. There's a couple of battles going on track, and it's hard to know which one to watch, isn't it?
It is at times, especially Tier 1, now that these guys are so close. Emo Guy trying to stick with the only G, but G is right up the boot of Andy then. Andy just a bit loose on the curbs. You see him get a bit of a slide coming through the final corner. Held it together well, and G's now going to have the run on Andy, but Andy's defended early here then. Emo Guy could look interested in this one. There you see the battle between Unorthodox Fury and Motory Morgan in the background, but we're focused on G and Andy at the moment into Tier 1. Andy defends his line beautifully, and Emo Guy just gives G a bit of a tap under braking up the rear there, and has to back out of that. Gives him a flash to apologise. Great
Is that
close.
an apology flash, that one?
I reckon so. I'd say that was more an apology flash.
I couldn't tell the difference. I didn't know the difference between an angry flash and an apology flash.
I'm
with you.
I think an angry flash. I think an angry flash is sort of on and off the button a bit more, and there's a few more flashes from an angry one.
Could be right. Could well be right. It did look like a sorry flash, didn't it? But these 3 still going at it. Andy had a bit of a reprieve there when Emo Guy gives G a bit of a nudge, but G's not done, is he? He's not done by a long shot. Come on, Andy, you've got 5 minutes to keep him at bay. And
Fury's not out of this one. Fury's still in this battle at the moment. As we go, sorry, Emo Guy was still in this battle. Fury's still in the battle, though, with Morgan and Unorthodox here, as we see, going down the start straight. Has Unorthodox just got a slowdown penalty, I wonder, because he sort of flashed his lights, pulls over to the side, so I reckon he's got a track limits penalty and has had to back out of that. Now, John Boy is in the way of Morgan and Unorthodox. That is not what Dan would have wanted here. He's tucked back in front of Fury. These two have got to work together. The slipstream in these clears, the amount you have to work together to catch the car in front is unbelievable. Fury then going to look up the inside of Dan, and Dan makes that one easy, but we see a change for the lead here. The only G is in the lead.
Sorry, Matt. I did jump to this, but I kind of missed it. It was as I say, G has made his way into the lead. We didn't see it. Andy now in second, and Emo Guy in third, but Bob's there as well. He's in close contact. He's not a million miles away at all, so still plenty of action going on up and down the field. Let's try somebody else for a change. These guys very close.
Yeah, Disco Stu and Melted Dazza trying to get on the back of Gary 131, that looks to be in front. Look, there you see at the bottom of your screen, Morgan and John Boy have absolutely pulled away from Fury and Unorthodox, so that trio is kind of over now that Dan got the slowdown penalty. Didn't really help himself, but can they use each other, Fury and Dan, to get back close enough? Gary being caught though by Melted Dazza and Disco Stu there. Fury having a look at attacking Dan. Obviously needs points in this one at the moment, because it's not going his way with not being there last week. Needs all the points he can get into staying up into Tier 1.
These guys are teammates on Simplay, is that right?
Yeah, my channel, Simplay.
That's the one, these guys are teammates on there, or will be for this season. Is that when you started your season, Matt?
So, Thursday they'll be starting their season in the Pro Kit category on Thursday night. In the Ferrari they're driving this year as well, so brand new teammates. Obviously Fury was with Emo Guy last year, and Unorthodox a independent runner, but teaming up this year, FU Racing in the Simplay Motorsport category in the Ferrari GT3 car.
If you're wondering what FU Racing stands for, that would be Fury and Unorthodox, of course. Of course it would be.
Of course it would be. Nothing.
Of course it would be.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing blue on the channels. No. Nothing blue. Just Fury and Unorthodox.
That's it. You know, it's not a play on words like French Connection UK or anything like that. You know.
I tell you what, Unorthodox has dropped Fury here, Kelly, and he's sort of gained on the back of John Boy and Morgan.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he's been beginning to reel him in again. I don't know if Dan's had a couple of good laps or Fury's had a couple of poor ones. I don't know. But
looking at Morgan's times, Dan was off a second. Dan was off second quicker than Morgan, the car in front last lap. So there Dan obviously feeling that he's quicker. Yeah, found some pace in that Clio. Just behind them, Disco Stu's got past Gary 131. So there was a battle between Melted Dazza and Disco Stu a couple of laps ago. Disco Stu now in front of Gary, and Gary having to reel Disco Stu in. P9 at the moment for Gary 131. Work to do. Disco Stu, you see, hit the curb hard there, 2 wheels, and that could affect his run, but doesn't seem to have.
No, indeed. Let's go back towards the front. Saying that, they're pretty static at the front now. G's thought himself a second and a bit away from Andy, and Emo Guy is just having a watching brief there in third, but not letting him get too far away. Looks like Bod's in a bit of no man's land at the moment, sitting there in fourth. Motoring Morgan in fifth. As you said, he's got. I was trying to work out who's behind him, but John Boy behind him, who's a lap down, isn't he? But still very much in the action. If he was a professional racer, you'd think he was doing it for the sponsorship, wouldn't you? You know, because he's still right in there.
He's still giving it a good go.
Yeah, absolutely. So still tight amongst these guys. They've dropped Fury a little bit. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if Fury's mum has asked him to come and have tea. I don't know. You know. But
John Boy's giving Dan the flash there to put the lap on him, maybe attack Morgan at the end of this race. So John Boy led him Unorthodox through, maybe to just get that one done. We'll have to wait and see. Can Dan keep with Morgan now? This is the question that we need to know. Just looking down the order, we have had 2 retirements from this race. Luty McShooty I can't see on the leaderboard anymore.
No.
And HRT Zeus is down in P13. I'm just trying to figure out the other guy that's retired from this race. As Melted Daz has got past Gary for P9, so Melted Daz up into 9th, Gary down to 10th place now. John Boy obviously not retired, still going, and he's obviously going to pick up a few more points now that we've lost. Dehuis Rocket is the other one. So Dehuis Rocket and who did I say? Dehuis Rocket and Luty McShooty have both retired from the race. So John Boy will gain points for P14, not P16. So great stuff at the moment for him. Melted Dazzler though has passed Gary. We've seen a good battle with these two last week at the Nürburgring. There you see Disco Stu, and Fury sort of fell into the clutches of these three now, with this being the last lap.
Fury's going backwards, needs to hang on to this one, as you say. We're into the last lap. So let's.
So G's just taken the win from Andy, and Emo Guy takes second actually over Andy. So Andy must have had a few time penalties. So Emo Guy second, Andy third. Bod will take P4 with Motoring Morgan coming across the line fifth. Unorthodox sixth in the end, couldn't get the job done. John Boy 14th. Fury crosses the line just ahead in 7th. Disco Stu in 8th. Melted Dazza P9. Gary down in 10th place. What could have been for him. Little Each hanging on at the moment for P11. Has a time penalty to his name. So we'll see if that keeps him in front of Shoulders for P12. I believe he should have crossed the line by now. Zeus 13th as well to final off, and Dehuis Rocker and Luty McShooty retiring from that race. But action everywhere there, Kelly. Great first race.
Yeah, certainly was. That was action packed, and that went very, very, very quickly. I didn't have anything like enough time to take the mick out of a Honda at all, or how rubbish VTEC engines are. Well, but there's always the feature race, so there's plenty of time for us to have a bit of banter about
100%.
How much better German vehicles are than Japanese ones, so we'll get into that a bit later on, no doubt.
G, your race winner then from Emo Guy, with Andy rounding off the podium in P3, Bod taking 4th. Morgan only 5th, losing more ground to his championship rival in this one. Is his title starting to slowly slip away early doors. We'll be right back after a quick break for the second qualifying session and race 2. So guys, make sure you don't get anywhere. If you are here and haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel, please guys, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe when you can. But we'll see you right after the break.
Okay, I think we're off stream, Matt.
Yes, mate, we are.
Yep. All right, everything okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Good stuff so far.
That was the first time I've had to race director and talk at the same time. So if I kind of miss stuff, if I'm missing something, do shout loudly.
No, yeah, mate, no.
And I'll try and pick it up as soon as possible.
All good from there. You picked up everything. I think we.
Yeah.
It's hard with races like that when there's so much happening. It's like you say, it's hard to know where to look at times.
Yeah, and as you know, we haven't got the luxury of being like a Formula One,
where you've got many cameras,
multi-feed screens and stuff like that. So yeah, it is difficult. But
I think the thing early doors is the thing when you get later into a season is when the championships start to get. You start to see the championship picture and who's in it and who's out of it. You tend to focus on their battles. But early season like this, it's just anybody at any time, and it is, like you say, especially if you're new to it, it can just be a bit, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to have experience in BMX racing, and that'll be Dan was a champion in it, and that'll be the bit of trivia later on. But I used to commentate the BMX racing, and I mean that is nuts. Absolutely nuts, because races only last a minute.
Yeah.
And you've got 8 different competitors every minute, and you do like blocks of 120 races.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so you tend to. I learned just to commentate what was in front of me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Other than trying to think it through too much. So, but this is a little bit easier than that. But as you say, when you're trying to pick up the screen as well. But,
the cameras to start with, it's all a bit. I found when I first started, it was all a bit. Oh, who do I watch at what time, sort of thing, and
absolutely. I think it's. I think I would struggle. I wouldn't be opposed to commentating on my own, but I think I would struggle directing and commentating at the moment.
That's the worst one.
Until I've had a bit more experience,
That's the worst one. When you're on your own, that's the worst one, because you've got to literally do everything, and there's only you to talk about it. When there's 2 or 3 of you, it's not so bad, but on your own, it's. I used to have to do it on my own, and it was a real handful at times.
Yeah,
and just
I can imagine. Yeah,
at times overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, at the moment, as I said, you're talking, I can flick through, and vice versa, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it works. I think it works well. Indeed.
Right. So qualifying for race 2 is
what's qualifying?
15 minute qualifying, 47 lap race.
Yeah, mandatory pit stop. When's pit window?
Just checking that. About normal time, babe. It's only 57 seconds a lap, so it's only like a 45-minute race. Pit 50, lap 15 onwards.
Right. Okay.
Ooh, Gary.
Yeah.
Apparently it wasn't them two that hit each other. It was people behind them shoving Gary into Craig, and all I saw was Gary at Craig, so I blamed him. Right.
This commentating's tiring as well, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know, I did a 24-hour race, which Dan took part in. Oh,
yeah, he told me about it. Yeah.
That was hard.
I don't know what's the matter with you people.
thought the racing would have been tough, but sitting there commentating.
Yeah. What do you talk about for all that time?
Well, in all fairness, I was sat in the party with the drivers as well, so it was like we were just chatting at times.
Yeah, that'd be a difficult one on your own, that, wouldn't it?
Oh, honestly.
We got rain for this one.
Rain for quali.
Oh, that's going to be great in these Clios.
And we're back live then here at Red Bull Ring National then. As you can see, the rain is falling here for the second qualifying. 15 minutes for these drivers to have to come up with their best times. Early qualifying laps will be the key, and you see the man early out on track melted Daz a little each, as well as so his Shoulders and John Boy. Early laps here will be the key to maybe the best lap of the day. The wetter the track's going to get, you're not going to see many improvements from people. 15 cars left. Emo Guy's just got a penalty. See next to his name, he's already got a grid penalty, speeding in the pit lane. So he's going to pick up at least a minimum of a one-place grid penalty early doors after his second place. Second place in race 1. That's not the start he'd have wanted to second qualifying. We've all caught our breaths. We've all managed to calm down a little bit into the qualifying rounds, and what a race we had with G taking the win. But who's going to take the pole position? Andy Fury and G still not yet out on circuit.
Yes, indeed. I think they're going to have to spend some time getting used to these conditions. I mean, in the space of a minute and a half, it started raining like mad. How did that happen?
The weather,
the virtual world, eh?
The virtual world here in Spielberg, in Austria.
That's right.
In Spielberg, yeah, Austria.
It is Spielberg. You're right. Did you want some quick fun facts about this track?
Give us a fun fact. Yeah, I've heard you love a factor too. So give us a fun fact.
Well, yeah, we like to. I mean, the Red Bull Ring, as we know it, was the A1 ring before that, and I can't pronounce its original name. I'm going to Ostrich Ring or something like that. Ostrich Ring or something like that was its original name when it was built back in 1969 in a different layout. A1 Ring. Because a telecoms company, an Austrian telecoms company, bought the track and changed it to the A1 ring. In whatever year was that, I can't remember. But more importantly, it kind of fell into disrepair after losing the Grand Prix, and then there was talk of the Formula One driver Alex Wirtz buying the circuit. That fell through, and then there was also then a talk of Red Bull, in association with Volkswagen and a few other people, as a consortium buying the track. That also fell through at the time. Volkswagen pulled out from it. I don't know. They were probably conning the public over diesel cars at the time, so that didn't happen. Finally, the Red Bull bought it. Dietrich, I can never pronounce his last name. Dietrich Matetis. Bought the track, and then put $70 million into improving all the pit buildings and bringing the track up to spec that we have today.
And I remember it as a kid, watching the F1 with my dad as a kid, seeing Schumacher and Coulthard and race around the A1 ring, and thought, what a track. Short, but such a good layout. And then it went from the calendar, and it was like, I don't know, it didn't. The calendar didn't kind of feel right without the A1 ring. Came back as the Red Bull ring, and so glad to have it back, because it's got a bit of everything, this circuit. 9 corners, but yet it's a track that provides great racing all the time.
It's a funny one, and I agree with you. I missed it when it went, and when Red Bull brought it back, it was great. But being a multiple format gamer over the years, I've played this track a lot, and it's very simple to learn. And it's one of those you kind of look at and you go, A1 ring, Red Bull ring, and then you drive it and it pays you back. That turn 1, turn 2 on the GP track that we're not playing tonight, turn 1, turn 2, both being uphill, are challenging corners, but they can be so rewarding that it is a cracking little track, really. It
really is. You've also then got the turn 3, which is downhill. The long right-hander, again, you've got the 2 short corners of 1-2 uphill. You've then got the downhill longer corner of turn 3, and kind of 4 as well, which kind of still falls away from you. It's just a bit of everything at this circuit. Sharper corners, quicker corners, great sections. And we saw from the F1 earlier last year, Norris took his first podium. It can provide some great entertaining, great fantastic races, other than some other tracks that's on, like the F1 calendar especially. But it's a circuit that I'd have up there as one of my favourites in the world, to be honest with you.
I don't know if it would. Again, I don't know if it would make my top 10 list. But when I drive it, I then enjoy it. So maybe so. Do you know what I mean? I certainly always enjoy driving it. Incidentally, the from the Grand Prix this year is the lap record on the GP circuit again, which was a McLaren, but it wasn't Norris, it was Sainz, funnily enough. Yeah, with a 1:05.6.
I tell you one thing I'm noticing, Kelly, the rain has stopped here and the sun's back out, so just a small shower here, and the track drying could play dividends for the guys who's not yet set a time as it rubbers in towards the end. But interesting.
Absolutely, the virtual world. The virtual world again. Look, it's as you said, it stopped raining and it's drying up. So it could be last man on track kind of affair.
If you had to pick a favourite track, Kelly, in the world,
Spa-Francorchamps.
Spa, fair play.
Yeah, Spa-Francorchamps always been my favourite. Probably always will be.
Yeah.
I intend to visit one day when we're, I've been saying it for donkey's years, but in the current climate where we can't travel, I want to see this one as well. To be fair, because I want to visit Austria. I'd like to see this one, but Spa would be my favourite. Yeah, and yourself?
Interlagos, Brazil.
Yeah, awesome track.
History,
awesome track.
The fans, the passion. The circuit is a fantastic circuit.
Yes.
You're constantly at the wheel. You're constantly driving the car. Very small time for a break, bar that start straight. And just the history and the passion of the fans and the circuit itself. So
many fantastic Grand Prix at...
the fact that Interlagos, the weather there, can play any factor at any time is fantastic. As much as, if you ask me British track, I'd have said Donington Park every day of the week. But track in the world, for me, it's got a bit of everything as Interlagos. The weather is so unpredictable at times. I used to like Malaysia for that reason. The weather at Malaysia used to throw up some cracking races. But Interlagos for me is the fact that you could be stood on the grid, they're all on dry tyres, just about to do the warm-up lap, and bang, rain. And they're like, oh dear, what do we do now,
indeed.
sort of thing.
I remember one of the Grand Prix many years ago, Schumacher and Button and all those were in it, and they just all falling off at the end of the long straight because it was just puddles and rivers of water across the track. And I also remember Alonso's big crash at Interlagos just before on the last corner, as it were, like the last. I say the last corner. It's a long uphill, isn't it? Yeah. So many, so many good. And Lewis Hamilton's first championship there. That was with Massa winning.
That was
that was a hell of a race. That one. Vettel getting spun round, going backwards in turn one. Yeah, I mean, so many good
really
moments
is.
at Interlagos, definitely.
And what was the race a few years back where there was about 4 red flags because of the weather? Had to restart under safety car, and Verstappen taking karting lines and just going around the outside of the centre S's of like Hamilton and Rosberg and just making them go backwards. And it was like, where's the grip coming from? And it's just one of them that was like, you sort of stand up and go, well, fair enough, mate, well done to you, hats off.
Absolutely. And I mean, Verstappen he's some boy, isn't he?
Really,
he's some boy. If there wasn't a couple of Mercs in the way, he'd be a world champion already.
I was saying this to someone the other day. I was having a conversation with somebody. Might have been my dad, actually. You remember the A1 GP days, like the international Formula 1 sort of thing? It was like the World Cup of Formula racing. If you had them in the F1 nowadays, Verstappen would win it hands down, in my opinion. Hands down. If all the cars was equal and it was all, Verstappen would be the guy.
I mean, we could start a whole discussion here, and surely the comments will start to come through. Look, we're getting some now. Road Atlanta and Brown's hats from SR Sim Racing. Ostrid Ring and so on and so forth. But I mean, we could get a whole discussion going. But my own personal opinion, Verstappen is the best F1 driver on the grid as we speak. Pound for pound, talent, hunger, touch, feel, youth, all those things. He's the best all-rounder on the grid, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know there'll be plenty of people go, oh, Lewis this, Lewis that, blah, 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 blah. You know, Lewis is a tremendous driver, an absolute tremendous driver. But you've got to have that hunger, you know?
You take nothing away from Lewis, because he does it year in, year out, and his teammate can't even beat him at times. But you see Verstappen, and even when he knows the car's not at the Mercedes' pace or level, but he still seems disappointed that it isn't. And he still is hungry to find more in that car and more to get him closer to the Red Bull. And which is why every win you see him take is such a jubilation, such an exciting time for him, because he's done it on merit. You know, and he knows he's outdrove that Red Bull car for many a year now, to be honest. Yeah. To get it to where it is to beat the Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, I mean, I'm reasonably excited about Alonso coming back this year, although maybe his time is done. But Alonso used to be the same. Do you know what I mean? He would always wring the neck out of that car and get the absolute best out of it, and that's what Verstappen's doing. He's out driving the car, you know.
Really
and let's face it, you know, Alex Albon. I mean, he's been dropped now, or he's gone to reserve driver, but he's no slouch. Do you know what I mean?
No.
What Verstappen does with the car is something else.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But Formula One's got some great talent coming through. Norris is a great driver. Carlos Sainz, Ricciardo, George Russell. There's a champion in waiting.
100%. George Russell is a champion that will one day get in a car. I mean, we saw what he did at Bahrain in the Sakhir Grand Prix.
Yeah.
When he gets in a car, he'll be one to watch.
Me and Daniel had this discussion at the end of the season, like our kind of highlights of the season. And one of my highlights for the season was listening to George Russell do a hot lap round Mugello while telling, you know, like commentating
on his hot lap.
Well, he's going flat out.
It wasn't one of them where I've done my lap. Oh, they've shouted me into the studio to talk over my lap.
No,
he was commentating his lap whilst doing it, and it was
fantastic,
brilliant.
Wasn't it?
Brilliant,
fantastic. What kind of what control we've got, and that's that's a mark of a champion, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the likes of Schumacher, Prost, and people like that who are always thinking about what's happening in the race. You know, are calculating and thinking it through, as well as driving.
Yeah.
Flat out.
And this, you know? I'm quite excited to see young Mick make the step up next year. That one excites me.
Do you think he's got the minerals?
I do. I think it's hard to compare him to his dad. Michael was phenomenal. It would be like comparing Bruno to Ayrton at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think he's got what it takes. I think F1 can be cruel, though. I think F1 as a sport can be very cruel. And like we've seen with Albon, he's not done a lot wrong, but he's lost his drive now. But I think Mick has got what it takes. Whether to win a championship, because the pool of talent that's coming through is phenomenal.
Very good. Yeah,
whether he'll win a championship, you know, obviously being a Ferrari young driver, whether Ferrari have got it, can get that car back to where it once was to win him a title, we'll see. But I think he's got what it takes to be a race winner, if not a champion. I think he's got, and I think Haas have pulled off a blinder there, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, and we wait to see, don't we? And look forward to seeing if Mick can do the business. But there's so much great young talent in Formula One at the moment that
the talent's phenomenal.
Yeah. We obviously agree on Formula One. We really need to talk about touring cars, because I believe we'll disagree on touring cars.
I think we will. So I've been told we will probably disagree on the touring cars.
Yeah, because I believe you're a fan of Matt Neal.
I'm not a fan of Matt Neal.
Thank God for that.
I'm the fan of Matt Neal.
Oh God. Oh.
Since about 98, 99, Dad took me to touring cars, watched Matt Neal win his $250,000. Ever since then, been hooked. Big Matt Neal fan.
I've been a touring car fan for many years. I remember I went in, first time I went was 95, Cleland. Driving at the time. These guys having fun on track here now.
Really are, Fury. Fury and Luty McShooty or John Boy having a bit of fun in the rain that's fallen again at Red Bull Ring. I suppose just before we get back on the touring cars, we ought to talk through the grid. DeHuis Rocker on pole by 400ths of a second from Disco Stu. Fury's in third. Heck of a lap from him on a wet to dry to wet track. Fury then at P3 at the moment. DeHuis Rocker obviously didn't finish race 1, but now he's on pole. Zeus is 4th. Morgan's down in 5th. Andy 6th. John Boy 7th. Unorthodox down in 8th with Luty McShooty 9th. Shoulders 10th. The only GP 11. Not the lap he would have wanted in that Renault Clio. Melted Dazza 12th, Bod 13th with Gary 14th, Emo Guy 15th for the grid penalty, so that'll promote Little Each to P15 and Emo Guy down to P16 on what is now a dry circuit for the feature race here. 47 laps to go.
Well, that dried quick, didn't it? The virtual world.
Yeah, they've got the old hair dryers out on that, I think, in between qualifying and the races. They've had the hair dryers out and got it all sorted.
Yep, so we're all lining up for another cracking good race. As you say, the track's dried out, so that's good news. Some of the guys you expected up front weren't really there. I suppose they're thinking that it's a long race and qualifying isn't the be all and end all.
Indeed. So you know, obviously you'll know yourself, in a wet race, wet qualifying, anything can happen. The minute it dries, though, that's the different story. You kind of get the quicker guys marching through the grid, so we may see a bit like we saw in race 1, a bit of a hectic first couple of laps, especially until the pit window. Yeah,
let's hope so, because that's what we're here for, isn't it? Is action.
That's it. We're here for the action, and we got plenty of action race 1, so I'm hoping we can get it race 2, especially when you look at GP11. That one really stands out for me. Bod 13th as well. He had a good race, finished P4, so watch for him charge from the back of the grid. Also watch for Gary and Little Each. Emo Guy finished 2nd. He's 16th, so he could be on a real charge come the end of the first couple of laps. Who do you fancy race 2 then, looking at the grid at the moment?
Well, G's driving really, really well. I think G might have a good chance at it, but Emo Guy, Ian's been on good form for the last few nights when I've been watching him. You know, I'd like to see Dan go up a bit higher, obviously. I think G for the win, to be fair.
Yeah, 100%. Morgan for me with P5, I think, is one to watch. But we're ready here. And it's lights out and away we go then, and look at the start from P3. That is Zeus, who's got a cracking start already alongside Disco Stu, who got a bit bogged down in the first couple of phases of the race. Him and DeHuis Rocker just leaning on each other as Zeus is up the inside, 3 wide through turn 1, and look at Fury looking to make it 4 wide, sneaking through the middle. Fury somehow leads this race, leaning on each other there with Stu and DeHuis Rocker as they come into turn 2. They're still bumping each other, they can't be separated at the moment, but what a start from Fury up the inside of through the middle of 3 of them, and job done for him at the moment. Zeus got off the line well, but could not carry that momentum into turn 1. Morgan stays P5 at the moment. One to watch who's on a bit of a charge from 15th on the grid is Little Each up into P10, so he's made places at the start here, and he's attacking G and has got past G into 9th place. Good little battle and a good start for Little Each here. Unorthodox up into 8th, but he'll get past Luty McShooty, that looks to me, as he's bouncing all over the grass on the outside line. And as we end a frantic first lap, Fury has a good half a second lead in this one from Stu, DeHuis Rocker, Zeus, Morgan in their group of 5, and then it's a bit of a gap back to Unorthodox with John Boy looking up the inside. We saw them two race each other a lot in race 1, John Boy and Unorthodox. This time it's for position. Little Each and G battling then in the background.
Absolutely. Fury had an absolute stonker of a start and he's out front. Grandad and Mum will be over the moon.
Absolutely.
For sure.
4 wide. What a brave boy to keep it pinned in and go through the middle of them all.
Yes, indeed. Brave stuff for sure. And he's gapped just a little bit from the rest of the guys. That's what he needs to keep doing. But it's a long race and there's a long, long, long way to go. And we're all still in very close quarters at the moment.
Don't forget, lap 15, the pit window opens so they can pit as from lap 15. And Fury just had a bit of a slide coming through the penultimate corner, but he's not being attacked from behind because Dehuis Rocker is attacking Disco Racing Stu. John Boy's already picked up a time penalty, and Disco Stu and Dehuis Rocker are side by side. And look at them go, still rubbing on each other since lap 1 as they head down to turn 1 now. Dehuis Rocker outbreaks Disco Stu and up into second place. Disco Stu really hits the curb hard onto 2 wheels, but keeps the momentum somehow. That's Melted Dazza way wide in the background as he rejoins Nice and Safe. G making good progress up into 7th.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, as I said, anybody's race at this stage.
Whoa, Zeus!
That goes sideways.
Zeus and Morgan just tapping the side of each other there, and Zeus into the grass. He's managed to keep it going, but HRT Zeus dropping down the order, losing that bit of momentum, and Morgan now can attack Stu from behind. But look at John Boy up the inside of the only G. G now up into 6th ahead of Unorthodox and Little Each, so he's made 2 moves. Zeus very wide again there, and yeah, look at Unorthodox pushing G pretty much through that last corner. He's really on the tail of G here and really needs to make the move.
Yeah, Zeus was so wide he was nearly at Spa-Francorchamps. He was that wide off the track as he came round that last one. But there's going to be plenty of scraps in this race as G looks to put a move on.
Yeah, it's John Boy,
isn't it?
Yeah, John Boy, that one looks done. Morgan's just passed Disco Stu in front as well. Oh, John Boy very sideways coming into turn 3.
Yes, indeed.
If he's not careful,
Tokyo Drift.
It was like Tokyo Drift. If he's not careful, Unorthodox will be on the rear of him and very sharpish as well. Morgan now up into P3 ahead of Stu. And we've lost a driver from the race. Who have we lost?
Who have we lost? Good point.
HRT Zeus we've lost. We've lost Zeus. So
he obviously did go to Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, he's off testing in his clear round spot. Didn't fancy the Red Bull Ring. He's cut through the trees and away he's gone. But
off he goes.
Oh, who's that off in the background? That's John Boy. Oh, Melted Daz has kind of joined him as well, and Little Each and Unorthodox will gain a place there as John Boy and Melted Dazza both off. Emo Guy as well as past Melted Dazza. Here comes Andy looking up the inside. They've also past John Boy as well. Melted Dazza comes back at Emo Guy. Now look at this battling everywhere we look, and look at the leaders. Fury has lost the lead. Dehuis Rocker now leads. Motory Morgan's up to 2nd, and Fury's lost another place to Disco Stu, and G and Fury there getting a bit sideways and tapping each other as they come through the right section of Red Bull Ring National. Forgot where we was there for a second.
Incidentally, 5 seconds, it covers the whole field.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
It certainly is. It's still anybody's race. Anybody from
Morgan!
Gets hit, taps, front, back, all over the place.
There's an angry flash. There's an angry flash.
Yeah, I'm getting the hang of these flashes now. That's an angry. I only learnt last week how to assign my headlights.
There is an angry flash.
For 3 years.
Although G up into P3 at the moment, then Dehuis Rocker leads from Disco Stu. Morgan's down to 4th. Unorthodox is now on the back of this, well, what was a quintet. It's now a 6-way fight for the lead, and Unorthodox really looking racy here. The gap's now down to 4 seconds between the top 15, so everybody's inseparable at the moment.
It's Dehuis Rocker in first and everyone second.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, and look, they're going all over the track, trying to find positions, trying to find ways round. This is going to change positions up and down the order, I feel, all the way to the end.
Morgan
with these guys.
Morgan up the inside of the only G there for P3 it looked like, and I don't know if he's got the move done. It's hard to tell who's who. They've all got their headlights on, and they're that wide spread out over the straight. I think they're about 4 wide, 3 wide here. Unorthodox Fury again making it 3 wide, and he looks like he's going to try and go through the middle of G and Morgan. Can he make this one stick? No, Morgan gains the 2 places. Look at Unorthodox. Look at the run he's got. Bit of a tap there with Fury, but he's gained 3 places at the moment ahead of all 3 of them then, and the pack just subsequently bunches up behind. I tell you what, this must be a good race from behind if you're watching. You're having to watch your mirrors and the front of it. Bethany Anduffin, come on, Little Each. She's obviously changed her allegiance from Gary to his brother. I'm sure Gary will be thrilled about that one. But Fury was first. He's now 6th in the blink of an eye, and I suppose in the blink of an eye he could easily be back in the lead at this stage. On board with Fury now. That's Little Each's car. You just see behind him there, who looks to get a good run through the penultimate corner. Can't seem to get the same run through the final corner, but look, on board with Morgan. Look at the two leaders side by side. Oh, Dan gets a bit of a slide off the curb, and that's allowed momentum for Morgan then. Coming down the start straight, the leaders are side by side. We're on board with Morgan. The leaders side by side. Fury watching in front, Morgan and Unorthodox, and that move is done. Can Dan get the move back up the inside? Fury just gets a bit of a slide, and you hear him in the wrong gear on the exit of turn 1, so he has to go defensive early doors from Little Leach, who's up the inside is Little Leach as we go back to the trackside camera. Little Leach doing brilliant at the moment from 15th on the grid. He's up into P6, Unorthodox side by side with Morgan once again. Wants that place back. The leaders just started to pull away from these two, and Unorthodox back into P4.
Yes, indeed, Matt. And yes, as you can see, I'm starting to get the hang of pressing buttons really well now. And trying to follow the action best we can, because they're all so still, incredibly close. Lewis Rocker is still in the first place, and he hasn't really got a gap to speak of, has he? Because everyone else is coming. There's another 15 cars who want to be in first place.
You see there down the start straight, Bod was the last car crossing the line. At the same time, he was hitting the brakes into turn 1. That was Emo Guy, who looked a bit wide. Disco Stu's now side by side with G. G's going to have a look up the inside. Can Unorthodox follow him through? No, he can't. Oh yes, he can. Forces his way through, in fact. Shields Disco Stu out the way and rams himself up the inside. Good hard racing, I suppose, at the end of the day. Nothing wrong with it. Good stuff from Dan, then up into P3 and on the podium. Can he now stick with G? That is the question. Morgan will want a piece of Disco Stu yet as well here. 4.5 seconds covers the top 15 in this one.
Yes, and that's crazy. And first, on the start-finish straight, everyone's in shot. As you can see them all coming through now. It's crazy. This is like the end of lap 1. Somebody going wide there at the back. Is that Bod?
Yeah, that's Bod.
Which won't help his cause. You're only 4 seconds off the lead, Bod. You were.
Yeah, he was 7.5 off the lead now. Shoulders is 4.4 seconds off the lead. G's got past Dehuis Rocker, so has Dehuis Rocker had a slowdown penalty somewhere as he's dropped well off the lead at the moment. G then up into the lead. Time penalty to his name. G up into the lead, 7/10 clear at the moment. Disco Stu and Dehuis Rocker battling. I've just seen their names change on the leaderboard. That'll be why, because they're side by side at the moment. Here is Morgan on board. On the trackside view of Morgan, trying to get a good run of Dehuis Rocker and Disco Stu in front of him. In fact, he's going to look up the inside of Dehuis Rocker. Gets that one done. Unorthodox is having to defend heavily from Little Leach, but he's now going to attack Dehuis Rocker up the inside. They touch and slide, but they both hang on in there. Now look at the run Andy got. Andy got a great run out of the corner. Little Leach kind of got stuck on the outside of Unorthodox. Had to get out of that one, but Andy got a great run and up in front of Unorthodox and Little Leach. And there's Fury back in front of them both as well. Little Leach looking around the outside of Unorthodox into turn 1. Can he make it stick? He's still there. There's brother Gary just behind Unorthodox getting the slipstream. Is he going to try and follow Unorthodox through to get in front of his brother? Not at the moment. He's going to keep it there. Little Leach is going to hang it round the outside. He'll be inside for the next part of the track, and Dan giving him plenty of room and respect. And look at this driving from these two. Great stuff from Little Leach and Unorthodox. Melted Dazzler and Gary sort of waiting in the wings here a little bit to try and get past. Gary looks like he's got a good run on his brother now, but he's got Unorthodox right in front of him, has nowhere to go. What can these three do at the moment? Great stuff from Little Leach and Dan side by side for half the track nearly, and Gary's pretty much pushed down in front of Little Leach so he can get through as well. So Gary's now up into 8th place. Good run out the final corner needed here for Gary. Dan didn't get one last time round. Can he get a run down the start straight? Let's see. Morgan is under attack from Disco Stu for second, but this a great fight at the moment.
Bit of pushing and shoving. Go easy, Gary. That's my boy you're pushing around there.
Gary,
but he's gone down the inside of him, trying to put a move on there. Touching their door handles at dawn, isn't it? There's people, there's cars everywhere.
It's so hard. It's so hard to get it right, Kelly. One little mistake like that, just Gary forcing Dan a little wide, Dan touching the Dehuis Rocker earlier, and they're just so far down the grid because they're that close in to each other. It's one mistake and you're down.
2 laps ago, Dan was in 3rd. That's how things change. But he's still only 4 seconds off the lead. They're all still within 10 seconds with Bod. Bod's dropped back a little bit, 4 seconds off the back of the pack now. But other than that, they're still only 5 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, exactly. Great racing from Dan and Gary and everybody subsequently on this track. Really are putting on a good show for us. Andy's up into P4 from seemingly nowhere at the moment. Fury, who led this race early doors, is 6th, and he's came back to 6th because he was behind Dan and Lidleach a moment ago. Now look at the battle. There's kind of 6th for the lead and then a bit of a gap back to 7th downwards, but from 7th down to 14th, they're all in that second group there. It's only Bod who's really on his lonesome. Still 2 laps until the pit window opens, so we've still got this drama for at least another 2 more laps.
Good, excellent, because it's great racing, absolutely fantastic racing, and Dan and Gary going at it again by the looks of it for yet another lap. And again, you know, what they can't see on the feed is how close everyone is. I've got little markers on my screen that tells me that which battles are going on, and you've got the same, Matt. We don't know which battle to go for because the whole field is a battle. The whole field is a battle, and the only one who's got it comfortable is G and Bod. They're kind of on their own, put their laps in, get the time done. Bod can't seem to catch these guys because they're all slipstreaming each other, and unless there's a bit of incident, as that's Morgan. Morgan's dropped down to P6. In fact, he's behind Little-Leach now. So what has happened to Morgan? Oh, that's Fury who looked a bit all over the place here and now. Where's Dan? Dan's on the grass. Oh, and Andy was off in front. There's Andy in the barrier. What has happened to Andy? I don't know if he's been in contact with somebody, but Andy off. Oh, there's another incident further back as well. I think I saw Emo Guy was around. Yeah, Emo Guy has dropped off the pace a bit as well. There's Fury. So Fury involved with Emo Guy. Bod has now gained 2 places since his earlier incident, or his earlier running wide, should I say. Bod's back in this race. Oh yeah, I don't know who to follow next. To be fair, it's really crazy. That just all happened in a split second. It was all over. So that's kind of spaced the pack out a little bit, hasn't it?
It has a little bit.
It's all going to end up in tears sooner or later, wasn't it?
Oh, you can only run that close for so long. It was bound to happen at one stage.
Absolutely, but this lot's still very, very close. Still lots of racing. Little-Leach and Gary are brothers, yeah? Is that
brothers,
the right one?
Yeah, brothers.
Yeah. So brothers nose to tail at the moment. Do they behave themselves together?
They didn't last week. Little-Leach clipped the rear of Gary in race 2 last week at the very last lap, last corner. So we'll have to see what they do. And they are actually the team's champions over at Simplay Motorsport in the GT3s, so we'll have to see what they can do here, how well they work as a team here. G's on the back of Morgan at the moment. We've seen these two last season at Catalunya have a good battle, elbows out battle between the two of them. Gary will be wanting to get on the back of Morgan as sooner rather than later. G has started the 15th lap, so you can pit as from the 15th lap, so let's keep our eyes out for pit stops, who makes what where. I hope Zeus is having a good test round spot because he's missing an absolute cracking race here.
Yeah. He's obviously gone to the hospitality and gone around the back of the grandstands and bought a burger or something like that, because he's certainly missing out on this.
He really has. Little-Leach got the run on Gary, and he looks like he's taking John Boy with him in towards turn 3. John Boy thinks of making it 3 wide, and I tell you what, brilliant manoeuvre there from John Boy up the inside of Gary and Little-Leach, and gets the job done. But Little-Leach is going to keep fighting his place at the moment, forces John Boy a little wide, and that's allowed Gary through. John Boy keeps it together absolutely brilliantly, and an Orthodubs gets through. A bit of an angry flash there from John Boy, maybe rightly so. Ooh, excuse me, as Little-Leach did seem to hang him out to dry on the outside. And Orthodubs has got past Little-Leach as well.
Yes, indeed. Positions changing all over the place. A couple dive into the pits. I don't know who that was. I didn't.
It will come up next to their name. I think Andy's in. Yeah, John Boy shoulders and Andy.
Yeah.
So the first pit runner's already in. We normally see Andy go very long into the race before he pits. He's pitted early, so we'll see what he can do after an early pit stop then.
Here they go. They're coming up to their pit box. The project.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened there.
The Project Cards pit crew, probably the most useless pit crew in the world. Takes them 3/4 of an hour to change tyres, but they can do a pair of headlights in a millisecond.
I mean, look at that. Andy's had his lollipop up for about 30 seconds there, I'd say. Well, probably not 30 seconds, but what feels 30 seconds before he can even leave the pits. So good job from the lollipop man. It's a good job these lollipop men are in F1, because they'd have just pulled out into another car before they've even finished refuelling back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. The Project Cars mechanics are the worst. They are rubbish.
Really are. But at the moment, it is G 6/10 out in the lead. And that's how long a pit stop takes, look. The leaders are already coming back round, and Disco Stu is in the pits. So Disco Stu decided to make his stop now. Where will he feed back out? I imagine he'll feed back out just ahead of John Boy. But we'll have to wait and see at the moment. So far, though, cracking battles wherever we've looked today. And the battles look to continue at the moment. Who's out in the pits? Fury and Emo Guy making their stops as well now. So everybody's starting to come in for their pit stops. Obviously, no one wanted to go long. I think the undercut may be the one to do here, but if someone's thinking cleverly, the overcut could be another option. We've still a long way in this race to go.
Right, okay, let's try and pick up Andy and see if he's gained any positions through the pit stops. So, up on two wheels and two wheels again. Oh dear. Andy doing some trick driving there by the looks of it.
Andy's got past Fury and Emo Guy, so they was behind him on. He was when he pitted. Yeah, they was involved in the incident with Andy subsequently. Bod is now in the pit, so this will be the real one because Bod got just in front of Andy after Andy made a mistake earlier.
Right.
So this will be the one to see if Bod can stay in front of Andy. How long will a pit stop take? Let's see. Andy coming up to the penultimate corner now as Bod stops in his pit box. There goes Disco Stu, who's just pitted. Disco Stu was obviously a front runner early doors in this one. And there is Shoulders. No, that's John Boy and Shoulders. There's Andy coming down the start straight. I tell you what, it'd be tight coming out the pits here.
Certainly will, yeah. Seems forever when you're trundling along that pit lane. I think Andy's going to do it, you know. Quite comfortably. Yep, gets out in front of Bod, so makes that move.
Indeed he does. So Andy up into the lead. These are the leaders. That's Melted Dazza on the back of Little Leach, Unorthodox and Looty McShooty. See Morgan and Gary further up front, third and fourth, having a good little scrap. Gary's just lost out third place to Morgan. So a good battle no matter where you look here. Clio Racing at its best, says JR Sim Racing. 10 laps in, 4 seconds gap out to stretch out the field. Best race on Project Cars I've ever seen. They're going to start to lose G's draft. These are obviously old comments.
Yep. We've had so much action going on here that I've hardly even looked at the comments, and that's unlikely.
Exactly. I'm normally the same as you. I'm normally back and forth the comments. Obviously answering the viewers' questions, who's watching, answering everybody's stuff. But the racing has been that intense that I've just not had time to look. G has lost time. Dewis Rock is now within half a second of G. And Gary is side by side with Morgan. Tommy coming down the start finish straight. Oh, there was an incident. That is Bod. And I think Emo Guy has been caught up in an incident somewhere since Bod and Emo Guy have pitted, because they are well off the back of Fury now. A good 7 seconds off the back of Fury. And Bod there with no bonnet. So obviously an incident, something's happened somewhere. Didn't quite see what had happened. Gary though back up into P3. Unorthodox has just been overtaken by Melted Dazza. I think it changed on the timing screen. This battle's just a bit further back. In fact, Melted Dazza has now passed Little Each. This battle just behind the pack. There they are, look. There's Looty McShooty, Melted Dazza, Little Each and Unorthodox. Little Each going to look back up the inside of Melted Dazza. Can't get that one done. All extremely close. Great driving from everybody on this grid tonight.
Absolutely, very little. I mean, we've seen a couple of incidents and bangings of doors and so on and so forth, but nothing too serious. Nobody on their roof yet, Daniel.
Brilliant. Daniel then looking up the inside of Little Leach into turn one. Can he get that job done? Yes, he can. Nice easy move, although Little Leach looks for the cutback. Dan though doesn't get a bad run through the corner and manages to defend and come across the front of Little Leach's car there into turn three. Catch a breath a little bit because G's pulled out a 1 second gap over Dehuis Rocker, but look at Little Each here. He's forced one up the inside on the exit to turn 3, round turn 4. Oh, there's Gary! Oh, Gary's rejoined the track. Where's Motoring Morgan? He's been involved in an incident with Gary as well, and that's just caught up with Little Each as Gary was rejoining. So Little Each off again subsequently after tackling with his brother. That's twice in 2 weeks. What happened to Morgan and Gary we didn't see, but Gary and Little Each. Oh, Gary pits.
Gary pits and breaks everything on the way.
Oh, what happened between P3 and 4, and then subsequently Little Each gets caught up. in an instant, just as he was side by side with Unorthodox. Dan did really well to not get involved in that one, because he could have easily been tapped up by Little Each after Gary had hit the side of him. Oh,
absolutely.
I would not like to be at their house for Sunday dinner.
And you were just saying how we could just draw breath, and then that goes and happens. Me and Daniel commentated on the GTE last night. We had a terrible case of commentators' curse last night. Every time we spoke about anyone, they crashed.
Yeah, that's the way of the commentator, I've found. You talk about somebody, and positively as well, how good a race they've had, and then they'll at one stage just lose it. Gary's out the pits ahead of Andy, Fury, Bod and Emo Guy. Now, where's he going to come out in terms of Morgan? Morgan yet to pit, but I'm not sure what happened there with Gary. Andy just getting Gary on the exit to the pit lane as well. Not sure what happened with Gary and Morgan. They've had a few battles in the past that haven't ended in the right way. So I'm sure questions will be asked to the stewards after this one then.
Yes, indeed. The stewards will have plenty to look at, that's for certain sure.
Indeed they will. Little Each comes into the pits after... He was racing hard with Melted Dazzler and Unorthodox, but he's now got a pit from 7th after being caught up in that earlier incident with his brother as well. Of all people to tap, you have to tap your brother. That's unfortunate. So where will Little Each come out in relation to Gary then, as they was pretty much close on track?
Let's pick up Little Each. No, that's not him. No, that's not him.
Every time you go to click him, someone passes him. He's coming out, and there is Fury, there is Bod, or the leaders. Yeah, Little Each is going to be a lap down and possibly behind Bod and Emo Guy here. So maybe, although people have still got to pit, potentially last in this race, there's DeHuist Rocket, there's Emo Guy and Bod. So now Little Each come out P13, but what could have been for him in this one? Not over yet though, others still got to pit. And we wait for them to pit. I believe everybody from 6th up haven't pitted yet. So Morgan up to G are yet to make their pit stop, I do believe. Disco Stu's pitted. What can this man do? Just about half distance,
just over half distance in this race. So still plenty of action to come.
Oh, indeed there is. 25 laps in. Gary on his 24th, coming across the line start. Lap 25. 1.8 in the lead is G. And then a big gap back to Looty McShooty. He's got Melted Dazzler and Unorthodox quite close to him. So I'm sure,
as we've got a little bit of a lull in the action, as we've had plenty of action up to this point, I'll throw in my fun facts for those out there. I'm going to throw this one out to the comments. You're watching Unorthodox, Dan Davis, who's been doing commentating, doing very well. Racing. He's also my son. He's not. He is LMP2 champion.
LMP2.
Yeah, he's LMP2. Yeah, LMP2 champion. He's not opposed to being a champion. Daniel's been a champion in his younger years. Yeah, so I'm going to throw out to the comments. If you already know, then please don't spoil the fun. But was Daniel a champion in motocross? He did motocross in his younger years and was the 250 class champion. Or was he the Cornish pasty eating champion? Yeah, doing a standard pasty in a mere 56 seconds. Or was he a BMX race champion who had multiple championships racing BMX?
I'm really wanting it to be the Cornish pasty one. Like,
I bet you do.
I really am. The
absolutely.
Tier 2 runner-up, LMP2 Cornish pasty champion. That's just got a really nice ring. I really want it to be that one.
That's a CV for you, isn't it? I couldn't be prouder, Matt. I couldn't be prouder.
Hey, when he turns up, when Mercedes say that Lewis Hamilton's not signed because he's being a bit greedy, and Dan turns up and goes, look, mate, I've won LMP2s, I'm a runner-up in Tier 2 Clio Cup, and I'm a champion at Cornish pasty eating. Why would you not sign him?
Exactly, and I mean, it's got to be. I mean, that's the deal breaker, isn't it? Toto Wolff would sit there and go, LMP2, the Clio Cup, runner up now, pasty, wow, well, pasty. Sign on the line, my friend, isn't it? 40 million, not a problem, and a private jet, let's have it.
Yeah, everything Hamilton wanted, you've just got.
Yeah, you can have it, purely on the pasties, you know. So in the, we've got Fury's granddad has said it has to be the pasties. Daniel has actually managed to be on the comments
Daniel.
as well as racing. There's multitasking for you, isn't there?
You shouldn't be on your phone while racing.
No, that's illegal, isn't it?
Don't text and drive, Dan. Don't text and drive. Think of the kids that you're setting an example for, here.
Exactly. I bet Lewis Hamilton doesn't have those problems, does he? You know?
I don't know. He's that far in front. He may have an hands-free in his thing that he's talking talking to Nick about what's happened in the touring cars while he's 50 seconds up the road from Bottas.
That's right. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if Lewis did turn up to the touring cars to see his brother come last, wouldn't it?
Do you know what? I saw somebody posted it on Facebook in a touring car group I'm in, saying if Lewis doesn't get the drive, wouldn't it be nice to see like a Team Hamilton on the grid? And I thought, do you know what?
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd get to see how Lewis would react in an environment where it is rough and tumble. It is elbows out. I'm going to have you sort of thing.
British touring car has got to be one of the best series in the world.
Oh, without doubt.
The racing is so incredibly competitive and so incredibly good. Imagine Lewis Hamilton against Ash Sutton. Just think about that for a minute.
Ash Sutton would absolutely annihilate him. Not in terms of pace, in terms of just driving into him, because it's what he seems to do. But Lewis would be sort of sat there going, oh, but that's not fair. And it's like, mate, welcome to the touring cars. Bang.
Yeah, you can't overtake there. How can you possibly overtake there? Ash Sutton, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Tom Ingram. Can you imagine Tom Ingram and Lewis Hamilton having a chat? I just get to see it.
Yeah, just Jason Plato being a little late on the brakes, just nudging the rear bumper of the car, and it's like, oh, sorry. It's like, what are you doing?
Oh, no, that's Matt Neal's. That's Matt Neal's
No.
Matt Neal's the push people out of the way guy.
No, Matt Neal, clean as a whistle. Clean as a whistle.
Which touring car have you been watching?
Well, recently, the one where he's not doing a lot because he's 50-odd year old and he's getting a bit too old now, so he's not able to do it.
Don't start with the too old 50s. Nothing wrong with being 50.
Nothing wrong with being in the 50s. Nothing wrong with being in the 50s. I just think, let's get Gordon Shedden back in that Honda and see if we can win another championship.
God, yeah, get Shedden back in it, definitely. What a cracking good racer he was.
As a big Matt Neal fan, I do think he's had his time. As Melted Daz is now leaving the pit lane, then G's also pitted and remains P5 after this one. So Morgan, Unorthodox, Luty McShooty and Lewis Rocker yet to pit. But Gordon Shedden, I'd love to see him back. I actually saw an interesting thing today. They announced the licenses for the cars. Toyota, obviously not Speedworks anymore, they've pulled out of, they've sort of gone the separate ways. Toyota running 2 cars next season.
Oh, great. Okay,
and
with Tom Ingram.
No, Tom Ingram's gone. I didn't see a driver announcement, but Tom Chilton has also gone to Sicily Motorsport in the BMW.
Ah, right. Swap from the. He was in the Focus, wasn't he?
He was in the BTC Honda Type R, the FK.
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't notice, because it was a Honda. So he's gone front wheel drive to rear wheel drive, of course, with the BMW. Well, that should be interesting. I was never a Tom Chilton fan at the beginning, but I gained a little respect for him the older he's got, and he's kind of matured a little bit now, and cut his hair. So it was he had a bob brush for a hairdo, didn't he, in the early days? Tom Chilton.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
He did quite well.
It looked like he'd got his bleach blonde hair, stuck his finger in a plug socket and gone up goes the hair. I actually met him once at the back of Donington on a media day, and he just took his helmet off coming in from practice and went, oh God, my hair looks awful. And all I was stood there thinking, looks better now after you've took the helmet off than it did back in the day, mate.
I met him at Thruxton. He served me a bowl of shredded wheat.
Oh, brilliant!
Because when he was at the shredded wheat sponsor, when the shredded wheat cards were there, the drivers were giving out bowls of shredded wheat. I had a bowl of shredded wheat with him and had a nice chat. I gained respect for him quite a lot then.
Brilliant. Shredded wheat, that's brilliant. Absolutely mega. Tell you what, man,
Daniel was there as well at the same time. It was quite funny. Funny.
Andrew Jordan went VIP with Andrew Jordan once at Rockingham. That was lovely. That was good. Made time for his fan sort of thing. Andrew Jordan did. Really nice bloke. Shame to not have him on the grid anymore, to be fair. Loving the BT, loving the commentary along with all the touring car chat. L8 would cry after round 1. Yeah, I think he'd retire after round 1. I think he would. I think he'd give that one up if Lewis was in the touring cars.
You do wonder, don't you? I mean, I thought when
If I'm right in saying, didn't Johnny Herbert have a spell? And I'm going years back. He only did a couple of races, I think.
I can't remember seeing him. I know Mansell had a go at it.
Mansell,
Mansell in a Mondeo, wasn't he?
Yeah, I saw that. That was around the time I was just starting to get into it. Because I'd have been about 6. I'd have been about 6 years old at the time Mansell came into it or something like that. So I was really starting to...
I was about 45. Yeah. No, I was a little bit younger than that. But yeah, that's the kind of time I got into it. And as I remember, Mansell didn't do so well. He had it again. People like John Cleland and Tim Harvey.
Tim Harvey's
brutal.
Yeah, your Ivan Mullers, your Rickard Rydell's, Anthony Reid, David Leslie's, Alan Menus, James Thompson's. What an era. Super Touras, what an era. I think Nigel Mansell, if I remember rightly, spat the dummy out once or twice over certain driving standards. And it was kind of like, mate, welcome to the real world. This isn't Nancy Pantsy F1 where everything's respectful and clean. This is the British touring cars, put up and shut up sort of thing.
That was the era as well when you had major manufacturers in touring car and money wasn't an object. Do you know what I mean? They would throw money at it like it was going out of fashion, so they could smash these cars up.
It was interesting as well because I was listening to there was a documentary of Jason Plato and Matt Neal with somebody on YouTube recently, and the race where Matt Neal won his $250,000, the first independent to do so. Was the first time he'd raced in his Nissan on the same wheels, the same tyres and same engine settings as the Nissan factory guys, the manufacturer team. The minute he'd won that race, they took the engines back off of him, retuned them and gave them him back, and he never won a race again that year.
Very interesting.
Because Matt Neal was basically given this Nissan to embarrass the other manufacturers as an independent, but not to embarrass Nissan. And he'd gone out there and won at Donington Park for first or second race at season. So it was like, we'll have that back, thank you. And there's some retuned ones on your merry way.
Here's a 3-cylinder one you can have instead.
Bit of a kick in the teeth for being the first independent to win a race outright, but oh well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those were the days, as I said, when major manufacturers were throwing money at touring car. Williams were involved as well at the time.
It was Williams Renault, wasn't it, at the time, with Plato and Menu.
Yeah, that's right. Menu was a hell of a guy. I've actually got a picture of Dan sitting in that Renault Laguna.
Which one? The blue or yellow, or the red one? The green one, the Nescaf one.
Blue and yellow. Alan Menus. And I got a picture of Dan sitting in that. He's about 3 years old.
Brilliant.
Was at our local Renault dealership. I don't normally go into Renault dealerships, I must say.
I have to say that is my all-time favourite looking car.
The
touring car. The blue and yellow Laguna. Beautiful.
I was a fan of the Audi A4.
Don't get me wrong, I loved all the super touring cars, but just the colour of it. The blue and yellow on that Laguna just looked beautiful to me.
Absolutely. It was a pretty car.
If I had to pick a car I'd drive from that area, it'd probably be the Volvo S40 from that area, the Rickard Rydell one, because that was a car.
That was a quick car, but it was a Volvo, wasn't it? I couldn't do it to myself. I couldn't do it. I couldn't drive a Volvo, I'm sorry. I'd rather lose.
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough.
I'd rather look good and be last.
Yeah, that's the case. That's the thing. Andy here, just putting one up the inside of Luty McShooty while the touring car chat's going on. A bit of an action on track. Obviously, people strung out after their pit stops. Morgan third on Orthodox, second to Huis Rocker in P1. I don't think them guys have pitted yet. Luty McShooty has, and he's now P9 after Andy has just forced his way through. I suppose we'd better just run through the order here after a bit of
that might be nice. We got a little bit carried away talking touring car.
Well, I think it was all action, and then it kind of died off with the pit stops. And Huis Rocker leads this one from unorthodox. Motoring Morgan third with a time penalty. G fourth, Disco Stu fifth. John Boy sixth with Andy Melter Dazza and Luty McShooty. You see on screen now 7th, 8th, and 9th. Gary's P10. Shoulders down in 11th. Little Leach 12th. Bod 13th. Fury 14th, and Emo Guy 15th place. Time penalties for Emo Guy, Melter Dazza, Andy, John Boy, Morgan, and Huis Rocker. 26 people watching. Guys, thanks for watching the stream. If you do like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. If you're enjoying the commentary, obviously a comment coming from BT saying that they was loving it, loving the touring car chat as well. Plenty more of that where that came from, I'm sure, over the course of the season. It's kind of calmed down a bit now as the night's falling here in Spielberg, Kelly. It's really sort of just the pit stop have made it fizzle out a bit.
Yeah, it certainly split people up and changed things around a bit. I suppose it was always going to be inevitable, really, wasn't it? They couldn't race in such close contact for quite that long. So yeah, things have calmed down a little bit. Looks like the sun's going down as well, doesn't it?
It does a bit. The sun is coming up. The sun is going down. The lights are coming on the cars. Nice clear night in Spielberg, or evening in Spielberg, should I say, from Luton McShooty's point of view. The lights are on these cars, so we'll be able to see the apology flashes or the angry flashes a bit clearer now as well. But no rain in this one, so the rain seems to have stayed away, but there is still 9 laps remaining in this race, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, indeed. Still plenty of action to come. Just quickly again, while things are quiet, I was going to go on board with someone. Who should we go on board with? The only G. I was going to go on board with someone coming. Yeah. Well, let's stay on with G. I was going to do a full lap around the national course on board with G. While we're a bit of a static moment, as you can see, he's just coming round to the penultimate corner. So incredibly easy to run wide here. Usually a race director slow down there. As you see him come round down to the first, the start-finish straight, across the start-finish straight, up to turn 1. Tricky. Unorthodox has pitted. Dan's pitted, incidentally. Where does he hit the brakes? Just 50 metre, just before the 50 metre. Apex is a corner, runs out to the curb, which is perfectly normal. This is where the national circuit changes, so you take a right turn here through a little access road, and you end up 3/4 of the way around the track through the S's part, which is the first part of that's quite challenging on the GP track, not quite so much on the national, as he runs out to the curb, lines himself up for this tricky downhill. Where does he hit the brakes? 50 metre board for sure. Yeah. Tucks it into the apex, runs out to the edge, no problem at all. Last corner, tucks right to the apex, and again runs out, and that's a lap. They go quickly, don't they?
They do go quickly, and what a way to talk us through the lap there. Monkey Boy in the chat while he was doing that says you can't beat the Swedish Shuffle. Obviously in relation to the Volvo earlier, I assume. Can't beat the Swedish Shuffle here, Kelly.
I guess so, yeah. I guess so. I wonder what he was on about. I didn't know that dance move, so yeah. So yeah, I did wonder what he was on about. But yeah, I've got you. Yeah,
we're
shuffle,
on lap 41 and 47. We do believe that Lewis Rocker and Morgan still haven't pitted. They both have time penalties to their name. Now, the interesting thing to note is Morgan and Gary caught up in a little drama early doors. Gary's on the back of Unorthodox at the moment, in the back behind Luton McShooty. Where will Gary come out in relation to Morgan? That's the interesting question. Has Morgan gone long enough that the overcut will work? We'll have to wait and see, though. Lap 41 and 46. Sorry, Lewis Rocker's just started lap 42 as Morgan's in the pits now, just as we bring up that point. So we'll have to keep an eye on Morgan in relation to Gary then. So if Morgan comes out around Gary, that will be around P10-11, and with G currently second, Lewis Rocker still having to pit, that's going to be hurting him for his championship and defending his title. We just look to the right of screen and see the cars come down. There's Gary. Morgan's going to be well behind Gary.
Well back, yeah, for sure. You see him dropping down the order now really, really quickly. It's going to put him way back.
I hear a car just pulling out the pit box, so that's Morgan away from the pits. You see him there, but he's well behind Gary at the moment as Gary's attacking Unorthodox. Can't get that one done into turn 1, and shoulders could get Morgan there. Gary, though, got the switchback done on Unorthodox and looks up the inside into turn 2. Gary's into P8 now. Good little move on Unorthodox. That set him up turn 1 and got it done by turn 3. Although look how quick Dan there gained onto the rear of that Clio. Yeah. Good change of direction from Dan.
Dan won't let that one go, that's for certain sure. He's back on it, and he's going to give him give Gary a run. That ain't over by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it won't be. I know Dan myself, he's a feisty one, and he'll want to get that back as quick as he lost it.
Oh, and Gary starts to lose it. He got it all sideways, bit of a tank slapper on, but just managed to get it back, square it all up. But Dan's on the outside of him now. Dan's going to struggle to go around the outside, but it's doable. We know it's doable. We'll see what happens as they come up into turn 1. They're side by side as they both hit the brakes. Oh, and they're still.
Oh, Dan gets a good run.
Goes all the way around the outside. He's right up
great
on the curb,
move.
has made it stick, but Gary's still there. Gary will be in his slip, trying to get him back. This one's going to run and run, I tell you.
While this one's happening on, Dewis Rocker is the final car to pit from the lead as well on lap 43 of 47. Can G take that lead back from him? Dewis Rocker now pits into his pit box. Where is GG? Yeah, G will easily do that one. Can Dewis Rocker come out ahead of John Boy in P2? I wonder. I think he's just pulled away now as the camera changes up the hill. We should see, yep, there's the Huis Rocker away. John Boy just coming down the straight, so I think the Huis Rocker may have John Boy done here for P2 at this moment in time. Yeah, I think he will have. Look, John Boy's not even hit the brake check for turn 1, so the Huis Rocker out into P2 with ease at the moment.
So is that a net gain? That one,
I believe he was around second or third, but he was around there with Disco Stu when Disco Stu pitted. Disco Stu's actually lost out through all the longevity of the pit stop from the Huis Rocker there, because Disco Stu's P4 and is in this battle with Andy Melted Dazza and Luty McShooty. And if these four have coming together, Gary and Unorthodox are only 7 seconds back to pounce on a few places here. Although if Gary and Unorthodox can work together here, actually slipstreaming each other and letting them go without fighting too hard, they could find themselves just gaining on the back of Andy and Melted Dazza for their time penalties, depending on what they've got. As Andy's going to look up the inside of Disco Stu, and Disco Stu gave that one up relatively easy there, so maybe a bit of a slowdown penalty. Flashing the lights from a car in front. I want to say that's John Boy flashing a back marker, so John Boy's not far up the road from this battle. John Boy flashing a back marker of Emo Guy. Emo Guy pulls to the side and lets them pass with ease. Melted Dazza up inside.
Get out the way flash.
It was a get out. There's the aggressive flash is constant. The sort of lap flash is a bit in between each one. As Melted Dazza got on 2 wheels and couldn't get the job done on Disco Stu. And at the moment then, lap 45 and 47, G looks in good stead to take this race win. Just looking at the comments, Jamie Brazier, love the Swedish shuffle. Phil Atherton, aka DJ Phil, has to be the Volvo S40 to race. Jamie asks about what about the 850? Monkey Boy, got to be the S40. BT says yes, the 850 estate Volvo was awesome. People. Yeah, it's no Honda Civic at the end of the day, is it? Let's be honest, guys.
Oh, don't. For God's sake, let's get some Audis and some Dubs in this bit quick. I tell you my favourite Honda was the 05 McNeil one. That was so quick, so overpowered. Do you know, Matt, do you know you're talking now and all I hear is white noise? If you start talking to me about Hondas, you might as well be talking to me about, I don't know, needlepoint, for all I know about Hondas.
Yeah,
you know?
In all fairness.
Although hung up in my workshop, I do have Gordon Shedden's rear diffuser from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because why not?
Why not? Because it was 15 quid, that's why.
Hey, I'm taking that from the touring cars, yeah?
Yeah.
There's the little tent that pitches himself up that gets sort of the older bodywork bits.
Yeah.
Do you know if I drove, I'd have had so many bumpers at home or bonnets at home. But I don't drive, so the person will never let me take it home in their car. So
I've got the rear splitter off Gordon Shedden's, and I've got 2 front wings off a Toyota Avensis, but I can't remember who they were. Daniel would tell you. James George, no, that's going back. No, somebody like that. But I've got 2 wings off an Aventis as well, kicking around my workshop. So I haven't done anything with them. They're just there.
They're just there, yeah, just for show.
Yeah.
Oh, Melted Dazza really hits the sausage curb hard. Goes out so wide that he's going to lose out there to Luty McShooty and Disco Racing Stu as G is on the final lap of the race. Here he is then coming through the middle section onto the back straight now. He's got to Huis Rocker within 1 second of him. It's a shame that Huis Rocker's got a time penalty because he could have made this interesting all the way till the end, but it's not going to be the case. G comes into the penultimate corner. And what a race he's had. He got out front and no one's touched him since. It's going to be a double win tonight for G. He's going to extend his championship lead. This man has been unstoppable. Yeah, you see Bod crossing the line. He'll get one more lap in, but the only G is going to take a double race win tonight here at the Red Bull Ring National. De Huis Rocker will come home second place. Good result for him. John Boy will take a third. Andy will claim P4. Will he hang on to it though with his time penalties? Let's see. Disco Stu crosses the line. Disco Stu will get fourth from Luty McShooty fifth. Melted Dazza gets sixth. Andy drops all the way down to seventh. Gary has got Unorthodox just at the end. They both flash the lights, check it over the line. So Gary 8th, Unorthodox 9th. Shoulders gets 10th. Morgan drops to 11th with his time penalty. Little each after being hit by his brother P12. when he finally gets to the line. What could have been for him. Here he comes round the final corner, and Little Leach is going to take P12 in this one. Fury finished 14th, Emo Guy finished 15th. There is Bod to round the final corner as well. So Bod's going to cross line. There is Little Leach across. Bod is going to come home P13. There you see Emo Guy 15th place, a lap down Fury as well. Bod finishes. We lost Zeus, he went to Spa for an early test session. Gino, the winner, with Dehuis Rocker and John Boy on the podium. Kelly, any final words from yourself?
I'll just fantastic race. What great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed commentating with you, Matt. Looking forward to doing it again in the future. Fantastic race. Just to finish up the bit of trivia about Daniel. Daniel was a championship BMX racer.
I really wanted it to be the pasties.
Yeah, no, he's ate a few pasties in his time, but he isn't a champion at pasty eating. His dad's better at it than he is. But Daniel was a championship BMX racer. He was actually British number 4. He came fourth in the British Championships and had multiple titles. Good overtaker, so it's kind
the
of
only person
you can see where he gets it from when he goes into this. But
the only person who got that right then was the wife, Bethany Duffing. So it was the only one who said BMX. Everybody else said pasties.
Yeah. To be fair, she was only one of 2 who even bothered commenting about it. To be fair, so next time I'll keep the trivia to myself.
Well, you can tell me more trivia because I've absolutely enjoyed tonight, Kelly. It's been absolutely brilliant having you in the commentary box. I know we can do it again later this season. That's all we've got time for, though, here at Motive Racing for the Clio Cup action. We'll be back live Friday night with the Formula 1 and the GT5, so make sure you tune in then. Guys, just towards the end of this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new. If you want to get involved in any of the action, check out motiveracing.com or head over to their Discord server and fill it in there for Assetto Corse Competizione, Formula 1 2020 or any of the leagues on Project Cars 2. From all of us, though, here, enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you Friday night. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys. Good night.